The sound that started it all was a soft, gentle chime. A simple tune drifting through the morning breeze. But to Patricia Hendris, the self-appointed queen of the Willow Creek HOA, it might as well have been a war siren. I was sipping coffee on my back porch when I saw her marching down the cul-de-sac, clipboard in hand, sunglasses glinting like an executioner's blade. "Ethan!" she barked, not even bothering with a hello. "Your wind chimes are disturbing the peace." I almost choked on my drink. Disturbing the peace. "Patricia, it's a $5 chime from Home Depot." She tilted her head like she'd just been insulted by Mozart himself. "This community values tranquility. Your chimes tinkle at all hours. Residents can't relax." Residents, plural, meaning her and her cat, Geraldine. She pulled out a printed violation notice, complete with a fine and a threat to remove the offending noise-making apparatus if I didn't comply within 48 hours. I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. That night, as the chimes swayed lightly in the wind, I realized something. Patricia wasn't just attacking me. She was attacking the sound of freedom itself. For years, she'd bullied people into conformity. One guy's solar lights, another's painted mailbox, even a kid's basketball hoop. No one had ever pushed back. Until now. I sat there, staring at the tiny chime, and an idea began to hum in my head. If she thought one set of chimes was disturbing, what would she do if the whole backyard came alive? By morning, I had a plan. I called my buddy Nate, a sound engineer who owed me a favor. "How hard would it be?" I asked. "To set up a few musical installations. Nothing loud, just atmospheric?" He laughed. "What kind of atmosphere are we talking? Spa day or apocalypse?" "Somewhere in between," I said. "Maybe something symphonic." By sunset, Nate was in my backyard with cables, speakers, and a wicked grin. We started mapping out positions, wind-driven flutes, gentle percussion, tuned pipes. The neighbors peeked curiously over fences, whispering. When the test run played that evening, a soft melody filled the air, haunting but peaceful, like nature's own orchestra warming up. And as I watched from my porch, I saw Patricia's curtains twitch violently. Round one had begun. By dawn, Patricia was already in attack mode. She stood in my driveway like a general surveying a battlefield, phone in one hand, clipboard in the other. "Ethan," she hissed, "what is that noise?" I leaned against the porch railing, pretending not to notice her scowl. "You mean my backyard orchestra? It's art, Patricia. Expression. A tribute to nature and community harmony." "Community harmony?" she sputtered. "It sounds like a haunted wind tunnel." I smiled. Funny, most of the neighbors seemed to like it. And that was true, at least partially. By mid-morning, I had 3 text messages from neighbors saying things like, "Finally." Someone standing up to her, and that melody's actually kind of relaxing. Even old Mr. Jenkins next door, who normally complained about everything, said it reminded him of a trip to Hawaii. Patricia, however, saw it differently. By noon, she'd emailed the HOA board, citing noise, violations, disturbance of peace, and potential psychological distress caused by unsolicited sound. Art. Her email ended with the line, "If Ethan won't stop, I will involve law enforcement." That night, I hosted what I called the rehearsal. Nate came over again, this time with a small set of spotlights, a few new chimes, and a portable sound mixer. We fine-tuned the timing so the flutes only sang when the wind picked up. The pipes resonated softly through the bushes, and the percussion swayed like a lullaby. From my patio, it sounded magical, like the backyard was breathing music. But to Patricia, it was war. At exactly 9:03 p.m., she burst through the gate like a banshee, flashlight beam shaking in her hand. "Turn it off! Turn it off this instant!" Nate looked at her calmly. "Ma'am, it's all wind-powered. You'd have to stop the breeze to silence it." She glared at me, trembling with fury. "You are in violation!" "The board will hear about this." "Let them," I said coolly. "You can't outlaw the wind." She stormed off, muttering something about calling the sheriff. The next morning, a notice appeared on my front door. "Cease all unauthorized musical activities or face escalating fines." I chuckled. They had no idea what was coming next, because Nate and I weren't done. We were just tuning up for the main performance. By Friday afternoon, word had spread through the neighborhood. Ethan's doing something in his backyard tonight. Some people thought it was a barbecue. Others thought it was revenge. In truth, it was both. I called it the Symphony of the Suburbs. Nate and I had spent 2 days perfecting every element. We added motion-triggered wind harps, bamboo pipes tuned to D major, even a series of reflective discs that shimmered like silver. Notes when the light hit them. The setup looked like a cross between a garden and an art exhibit. Whimsical, peaceful, and just subversive enough to drive Patricia mad. By dusk, lawn chairs started lining the fences. Families peeked over with snacks and wine. The Johnson kids brought glow sticks, Everyone seemed to sense this wasn't just about music. It was about freedom from the tyranny of HOA control. At 7:30 sharp, I flipped the main switch. A soft hum began, blending with the wind's natural rhythm. Then came the chimes, the flutes, the whispering percussion of tinkling metal and wood. The air shimmered with sound, calm, mesmerizing, alive. Patricia emerged minutes later, storming from her house like a dictator interrupted during her evening ritual. "What is this?" she screeched, waving her phone. "This is illegal! Noise pollution! Harassment!" But no one listened. The music had claimed the moment. Even the HOA vice president, who happened to live 2 doors down, was standing at his fence with a smile. "You know, Patricia," he said gently, "it's actually kind of beautiful." She spun on him, stunned. "Beautiful? It's chaos. It's mockery." I stepped forward, microphone in hand, purely for dramatic effect. "Ladies and gentlemen, this performance is dedicated to the spirit of community, and to anyone who's ever been told their joy was a disturbance." The crowd cheered. The chimes crescendoed as the wind picked up, almost like nature itself had joined in. Patricia's face turned red enough to power a stoplight. Suddenly, flashing lights appeared at the end of the street. A sheriff's cruiser, summoned by none other than Patricia herself. The deputy stepped out, took one look around, and sighed. "Evening, folks. We got a call about noise." He paused, listening to the music. "But unless this wind's breaking the law, I'd say you're all fine." The crowd erupted in laughter. Patricia nearly fainted. I knew then. The final act had to be something she'd never forget. The next morning, Patricia was fuming. She'd been humiliated in front of the entire neighborhood, and she wasn't going to let it go. When I went out to grab the paper, I saw her pacing at the end of my driveway with a stack of papers, a formal complaint to the HOA board, a cease and desist order, and a brand new petition titled "Stop the Backyard Menace." I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. She waved the papers at me like victory flags. "Enjoy your little stunt, Ethan. The board meets tonight, and they'll shut your circus down." I smiled. "Actually, Patricia, I was hoping they'd be there. I've got something to show them." That evening, the HOA clubhouse was packed. Curious neighbors filled every seat. Patricia sat in the front row, clutching her notes like a prosecutor ready for trial. The president called the meeting to order and asked me to explain myself. I stood, nodded to Nate, who was sitting near the back, and tapped my tablet. Instantly, a recording played. Soft wind, melodic chimes, faint birdsong. It wasn't noise, it was harmony. I turned to the board. "This," I said, "is what Patricia calls a disturbance. This is the sound of wind and art working together. If that's against HOA rules, then maybe the problem isn't the wind chimes, it's the rule book." There was silence for a moment, then a quiet clap from Mrs. Jenkins, then another. Within seconds, the whole room joined in. Patricia's face was a mix of shock and rage. The HOA president raised his hand. "Ethan, while we appreciate artistry, we do have guidelines." "I understand," I said, cutting in. "Which is why I'd like to propose a compromise. The backyard orchestra will play only from dusk to 9 p.m., and I'll invite neighbors to enjoy it once a week as a community event." The room murmured with approval. Patricia's jaw practically hit the table. The motion passed unanimously. My disturbing chimes were now an official neighborhood tradition. As everyone filed out, Patricia glared at me, her empire crumbling. "You think you've won, don't you?" she spat. I grinned. "No, Patricia. We all did." That weekend, the first official Willow Creek Sunset Symphony filled the neighborhood. Families gathered with blankets, the air shimmering with laughter and music. And from her window, Patricia watched, curtains twitching, arms crossed, while the wind carried the sweet sound of poetic justice. If you enjoyed this wild HOA showdown, make sure to hit that like button before Karen files a noise complaint about it. Drop a comment and tell me your favorite moment, or what you would have done if you were in my place. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next crazy neighborhood story. Trust me, the next one's even wilder.